Hey guys, it's Jill. It's Sunday, the 3rd, I believe, the 3rd of August. Yes, that's correct. And I am hanging out here at the playground. And I wanted to talk a little bit about society and human sovereignty and our rights within the country of the United States of America, and then where the line is on humanity, because time is an illusion, right? And all rules are just man-made. Okay, besides like don't kill one another, don't steal from one another, you know those are like golden rules, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But things like jobs and housing and clothing and even gender are really just constructs that we have collectively decided upon. And if you look back in history, there is proof of this, right? Initially, when the first people were breathed into life or brought here, there was no clothing, there were no gender roles, there were no religions, there weren't even really surnames, there was just what you were known by, right, within your community. And so we began to make things up. We made up surnames to denote families and where you come from, and we made up names for the places in which you were born, and we made up rules for housing and who would stay where to keep you from the elements. Lately, it seems like these things have gotten out of hand in our country. And I know that this is pretty far removed from what most people are going to think about every day, okay? But we have, over the past 5 or 6 years, seen exponential increases in rents, even in this small city. We have seen new legislation against houselessness, and that one is a huge infringement to me. That one really frightens me, because there should not be a rule that says that you have to be housed. Now, yes, we should house people, okay, but should it be mandatory that you have a physical dwelling? Should we be able to hold people against their will, like detain people for not having a place to be? And if you look deeper into this new legislation, it also includes people living in their cars or van life or nomadic lifestyles. And that one has me shook, because, I would love to put my kids in a bus and travel around this nation. This is a beautiful, beautiful area, you guys. The whole country, we have so many natural wonders and landscapes, and you can't criminalize people for survival, right? Like, we know how to survive in small spaces. We know how to survive with limited resources. Some of us. I'm not going to say everyone. Okay, let me back that train up a little bit, because not everyone has the mental or cognitive function to be able to do that, okay? But there are people who can, and people who are choosing that lifestyle because it allows for a level of freedom. Freedom, you guys. That was what our nation was founded upon. Freedom from tyranny, freedom from the king's rules, freedom from unjust taxation. So when we start looking at not just taking people off the streets, but taking people's lifestyle from them, I have a problem with that, especially when we're using words like detain and incarcerate and mental health, because just because you live outside of the matrix structure that has been set in place does not mean that you have a mental health issue. Now, we may call it mental health and it may be sold to look like mental health because we have created false structures that have existed for so long and that have worked. Let's say they worked. Okay, you grow up and you go to school, you get a job, you buy a home, and then life, continues on in that same fashion. But there are a lot of people who are waking up to the fact that this is not what they want. I mean, don't ever forget that time is an illusion. We create these 7 to 4 and 8 to 5 schedules. Why? Not necessary. Maybe necessary for showing up to work on time, but does school have to be that way? If you want a group of people to show up in the same place, I guess you have to have an agreed upon time, but public education has just become nonsense anyway. Now, with online jobs, we don't have to work those 8 to 5, 9 to 5 jobs, right? You don't have to live inside these societal structures, and people are really waking up to that there is freedom outside of that timing. And if you need proof that time is an illusion, go back to like 1582, before the King James Bible even, and look at where the Pope moved the calendar. Okay, October 4th to October 15th, 1582 doesn't exist. You went to bed on the 4th and you woke up on the 15th. And the reason they did that was because we had gotten away, the Gregorian calendar had gotten away from the timing of the equinox. Now, why do we need that? Well, because we have things like harvest time, right? So there are cycles that nature has always moved through. Light and day, night and dark, seasons of harvest, seasons of wet and cold. But do we need those things? They help to maintain some semblance of order, but not if we're going to disrupt it by taking away people's freedom. And if we are detaining people through ICE, and we're removing all the non-white people, and then we're attacking, let's say, the lowest portion of society, those who are going without, and those who are choosing not to live within these structures, this really is the Nazi agenda, friends. Who's gonna go next? Well, next it's the women, okay? And if you have female children, please be paying attention for that, because that is what's coming next. That's what will be attacked. Anything outside of the nuclear family is going to be attacked. The 2025 agenda was real. The 2030 agenda was real. Please read the documents that are coming out of the UN, because they're really just kind of terrifying, and I've been saying that for a couple of years. I don't know how to get a bigger platform, guys. We need a bigger platform. A lot of us need a bigger platform, and we need to start raising our voices, and that's why I've been raising my voice, because there are a lot of things that are moving and shifting right now that are not acceptable, and whether they directly affect you or not, you need to be paying attention. Alright. There's a lot. This one is a deep dive, but I'm going to be quiet. If you have any questions or you'd like to have a conversation regarding some of these things that are moving, please let me know. Know that I love you guys, and I'll talk to you later.